Hi everyone. A viewer asked me yesterday, okay, what's going to happen to the power industry when we get superconductors coming in? And so I'm going to have a quick look at the business model, see what we can do, see what's likely to happen during that period. Let me move that my video across to one side. So we've got the business model canvas here. Very much the power industry at the moment is basically it delivers electricity to consumers, it makes it in power stations and sends it through a transmission grid, and then it becomes viable because of the money that it makes greater than the costs. That's how it works in a nutshell. So what's going to actually happen if we move to superconductors here? So we're changing the key resources, and that basically means that we lose a huge proportion of electricity as we move it from the power stations to the cities, to the consumers at the moment, which is why we have very high voltage power structures to reduce the amount of energy that we lose. So broadly speaking, moving to high superconductors, high capacity superconductors that aren't going to lose energy means that two things. One, we become much more carbon friendly because we don't need to create so much power. Therefore, power becomes 10, 20, 30% cheaper because we don't lose so much of it in transmission. Two, we can move it over much longer distances with the same transition losses. So what does this mean? So we've got this new key resources. That means that we could actually start playing with partners, say, big in the UK where it's really wet and windy. We could bring in power from the Sahara with giant solar farms there, or potentially wind farms in South America that are at different times of the day. So that way you're getting a much more balanced load. And this is fundamentally where we'd be playing with the business model. We don't particularly need to go over and change the relationship. So there are lots of other things happening in the energy industry that would change this model. So what does this mean? Let me just discard that. What does this mean? This means that, let's do it in yellow. This means that we can change the value proposition. We can make it a lot cheaper. That making energy much more resilient, much more carbon friendly, much more carbon neutral. So we've got cheaper, carbon friendly electricity. The costs of the electricity, okay, we've got big costs for all these superconductors putting in the new distribution network. That's expensive, but we're also able to drive down costs overall. Revenue will probably also go down, but this makes if an energy company starts to do this, they're able to start offering the same amount of energy for a much lower price, and that enables them to start disrupting existing markets, regulated or not, because what government is not going to want lower electricity, because then people are a lot happier, as we're seeing at the moment in the UK, where energy costs of petrol etc are and sort of household electricity bills, industrial electricity bills are just going up and up with the economic crisis that we're playing with at the moment. So this is really what we're looking at when we're looking at what would happen if we brought in new superconductors. There are lots of ways of sort of playing in with the details that we can do about this. And really coming back to the core point of the value proposition, changing these key resources, changing the cost and the efficiency of distributing the power. And I think if you was technically, we could also put them to a certain extent here. We're changing how we distribute the service. We are really accelerating. We're making electricity far more valuable, far more useful, because it's at a lower cost, and it's at a lower cost to the environment. It's also disrupting other people's business models because they are going to be forced to decide, okay, do we lower our prices, making their existing business model less viable because they've then got less money to reinvest into the business, or do they also have to invest into the new type of materials that's going to make the electricity distribution and transmission a lot more effective? So what can we learn in this? This is a case of a new material, a new technology advancing, coming in and changing the way that the industry works. It could transform it very, very significantly. It won't do that if they just replace existing transmission cables. It will start to do that if you're then able to bring in power from very long distances, which changes your mix of generation capacity, which is absolutely key if we're going to a new green environment. So this is how we use business models to transform businesses, to start reimagining the way that the world can work and start asking questions. Okay, who are the partners? How are the activities going to work? Are we going to change the key relationships? What can we change as a result of this? And always asking the question is, how do I deliver more value for my consumers? And how do I make it harder and more difficult for competitors to compete with me and make their business models less and less tenable? So let's pause that.